What's up, Zack Oates here, author, entrepreneur, and customer relationship guru. Welcome to Give an Ovation, growth strategies for restaurants and retailers, where we find industry leaders to share their secrets to grow your business. This podcast is sponsored by Ovation, a customer experience and marketing platform that gets you more reviews, more feedback, and more revenue. Want to learn more? Visit ovationup.com. All right, welcome. And today we've got Rev with us. Rev has spent the last 20 years as a hospitality technology marketing consultant and food influencer. He believes that pizza is a religion. And Rev, crazy times. And again, I'm coming at you from Ovation headquarters number 2, which is my wife's sewing room. So appreciate you being with us, Rev.
Thank you for having me. I'm in Management HQ. I've had this LLC since 2009, but it's not like a company, right? It's just a way for me to write off taxes. But this is essentially Management LLC. So I got a Blink 182 poster. I got a Spider-Man fidget spinner. You know, we're good.
Nice. There we go, man. Well, hopefully no one from the IRS watches this.
No, I do write off a lot, so we'll see.
Awesome. Okay, so Rev, here we are. We're at the, kind of at the cusp in the very beginning of this coronavirus. What should people be, restaurant owners, hospitality owners, what should they be thinking? What should they be feeling? What do you think? Talk to us about your experience.
What should people be thinking and feeling? Just put the pressure of the entire industry on my back.
Yeah.
Listen, I keep getting lots of people are asking me my opinion on this. I'm pretty steadfast on. I think that not just the business, but as a society, we are about to go through a pretty seismic transformation, right? Like, we're not going to go back to the way things were. Like, we're not just going to return. There is a new normal. We are not going to be reinserted to the matrix, so to speak. And I think the effect of that, there's going to be a lot of effects, but from a business level, I think 2 things are really going to happen. And I'll do some storytelling. The MTA in New York City last week announced that they were going to do enhanced cleaning of the subway. And that meant that they were going to, clean the subway twice a day. And like, people's minds were blown. They were like, wait a minute, how often or often were you cleaning it before, right? Now the expectation will be set that it has to be cleaned 2 times a day. And so that operational change for the MTA is going to be a seismic change in their operation. And the same thing I think is going to happen to dining in restaurants, right? All these restaurants are putting out messages about enhanced cleaning and sanitation practices and yada, yada. That is going to set a new standard, I think, for cleanliness and safe environments. But moreover, the bigger shift that's coming, I think the world in general has been moving towards, cloud computing, work from home, software technology adoption, on-demand services, like all these sort of things that the internet has created, and that for sure we were already moving in the direction of. I think with I don't think adoption was moving at the speed of creation. Like, technology for sure is outpacing adoption. And I think what's going to happen here is that adoption is going to be forced to speed up. Work from home, on demand, cloud computing, like all these things that are enabling our society to basically still operate in the midst of basically a lockdown, are going to show us the possibility of what those things can do. And I think that's going to change our entire society. I know I'm a little long-winded here on the answer, but
this is great, Rev.
Like, how is that going to affect restaurants? Well, if I was a restaurant operator right now, and I'm not, because I'm actually a failed one from 6 years ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Some people pay for an MBA, and I bought a bar. I learned just as much, but not in a different way. I don't have something on my wall other than a Blink 182 poster. Total digression. If I was a restaurant operator right now and I was forced to either close or change to a delivery and pickup only model, I would be thinking about, what can I learn in this moment, or what can I do right now that's going to affect my business positively moving forward, right? That's like an immediate thing. Actually, sorry, I would start with, what can I do right now? What can I learn from this in the immediate? Like, how did I adapt to something that I can actually continue to practice afterwards? Before I go to my second point, I'll give you an example. Friend of mine is a CEO of 15 location restaurant, and they're different brands. So they have like some casual, some fine dining, whatever. And the fine
Uh-huh.
dining ones, they just shut down. They're like, there's nobody's coming in to eat a steak. Like, we're not going to do it. But with their with their casual brand, they're thinking about like, how do we keep delivery and pickup going? And I was like, well, why don't you just do like a value driven menu, right? Like if your normal entree is, here in New York City, $25, is there a $12 version that you can create that feels easy to pick up or easy to deliver at a higher pace than I would have come and sat in your dining room, right? And
Yeah.
so if you're that restaurant and you can figure out how to operationalize like a $12 menu, or depending on where you are in the country, a $5 breakfast, like the type of thing that like feels easy, isn't too big a discount on what your price or your cost of goods are, and it's going to potentially increase the frequency from which I touch your brand in this moment, that could turn into an operational efficiency moving forward, right?
Yeah.
Restaurants are
Yeah.
restaurants
Totally.
are worried about third party delivery and ghost kitchens and all those things, and that for sure is a restaurant threat on a traditional model. But like, you have a kitchen and a staff, maybe you just create your own version of that. I don't know. These are the things I would be thinking about. Um, to go
Yeah, and,
past
and touching on that real quick, because at the end of the day, right, you um nothing's gonna be the same,
nothing.
right? And we're going to find a new normal, and it's not going to be crazy different from what we had, but it's going to evolve. A lot of things, like, we're going to this forced evolution. And so the question is, what do you look like? What does your brand look like after all of this? And that is setting them, you're setting the stage for that right now. For example, I mentioned this on another podcast, but people who had a sit down restaurant, they're now serving bagels and burgers outside their restaurant from from like a little stand. I mean, you need to evolve to think about, what does this mean for your menu, and not be afraid to change things up, right? Because I feel like a lot of people get stuck in, like, I can't change it, this is my menu. But you have to, and you have to at least consider it, right?
Right. And I mean, to your point, I think that restaurants are going to have to start to bend to the laws of technology. And by that, I mean, like, there are tons of software companies that go and create a product that's interesting, but the ones that are the successful are the ones that solve a need, right? Restaurants traditionally, that model is built on almost an ego basis. I'm a great chef. I want to share this food. I want to create this environment. And it's like, well, does the neighborhood actually need your restaurant? Like, do you have to create the need, or is the need already there? Right.
Right, right.
Software in 2020, software gets created based on a need. Like, oh, the market needs this. I'm creating it and developing it. I think restaurants are going to have to start to think even more about, does my market need this? Does my neighborhood need this? And for a restaurant operator that was afraid of a ghost kitchen, like, that got created out of a need, right? If you are a restaurant operator, you need to think about now, like, how does my restaurant serve the needs of my community? Like, yeah, okay, it's a fun place to eat and the food are good and blah, blah, blah. And those things matter to a certain extent, but they're not going to matter in the same way moving forward. The need for people to have something, whatever that is going to be what changes in the future.
Love that, man. And going along with that, as we're looking forward to this, what can people be expecting in terms of some of these new norms? I mean, with cleanliness, sanitation, I mean, is that going to be do you think that restaurant owners and operators are going to have to bring on, like, another staff member just to clean? Or, like, what do you think in the new normal is?
I think the new normal, I'm going to go up a level if that's okay here. I think the new normal is a readjustment of an old normal, which is restaurants are about the customer experience, right? And
Hmm.
you'll hear a lot of people say, "Oh, it's about the food, and it's all about the food and the food, the food, the food." And there's a reason I wear black, because I do believe pizza is a religion, and I like the food. But I can make a pizza in my kitchen, or I can have it brought to me and eat it on my couch. Like, I go to the restaurant for the experience, right? And so I think the entire experience has to change. The experience has to be customer oriented. And so if your business was only like kind of customer oriented first, now you're going to have to be really customer oriented. And if that requires a cleaner dining room, or better technology to um, unlock new parts of the guest experience, or menu modifications based on what people need, well, like that to me is part of the customer experience. And if that requires like new staff members, or even just a reconfiguration of your staff, well, that's how you survive, right? Like one day a fish crawled out of the water because it was hungry, and then it grew legs, right? Like restaurants have to grow their customer legs.
Yeah, and what about communicating with customers? We've had some customers that have had a lot of success in actually communicating, because they've been collecting customer information and what they purchase and who they are and phone numbers and emails. And so now when something like this hits, they have the tools and the data to do that. And people who don't, I feel like they're going to struggle, because how do they let people know if they're open? How do they let people know that their menu's evolving? How do they let people know anything? And then when everything goes back, how do they get feedback to know, to keep more customer centric? Like, have you found people wanting to communicate more with their customers, who didn't previously, or do you find that people who are doing it, people who aren't doing it?
Um, for sure, on the other side of coronavirus, there will still be a few restaurant operators out there who hate Yelp, but they
Yeah.
might not be long for the game, right? Sort of the wheat and chaff will be separated forcibly there. But I do think that customer touch points and customer information um, is the name of the game, right? And for sure, if you're a small operation, you're a mom and pop shop or one or two locations, and you're like, oh, how do I manage a customer CRM and blah, blah, blah? Like, I don't know, but you better figure it out, because that's where we're going, right? And that's like
Yeah.
every single person that orders delivery from their local Chinese place also uses Amazon, right? So as consumers, our expectations are matching the Amazon experience and the Uber experience and
That's interesting.
the software experience. And so like when I purchase something, I want an email receipt within seconds, and I expect you to ask me for a review. And I'm kind of hoping you reply when I tag you on social media, right?
Yeah,
Those
because at the end of
rules.
the day, that's a great point, right? Because people, as a consumer, we don't care, if you've got $1 billion behind you or not, right? It's all about the experience for us. And I think that's a great point, is that we really are comparing the local Chinese restaurant to Amazon. And granted, there is some leeway, right? I mean, like, I'm not gonna expect like the full, maybe not Zappos or Nordstrom service, but that's what I'm comparing it to, because that's where I just shopped half hour earlier before I ordered that Chinese food. I think that's a really interesting point, Rev.
Yeah, I think we're about to see Cheers 2.0. Everybody will know your name, and they need to email you using your name. Like
Uh-huh.
it's no longer walking into the bar and having, being greeted by Sam. You're going to be greeted by
Yeah.
Sam in your inbox. And I don't care if you're selling me, software, a car, or French fries. Like, I think that customer touch points and customer information is the only way forward. And it doesn't need to be a completely robust system for sure. I mean, case in point, there's a number of software out there that are easy to use and easy to manage. And I guarantee for a restaurant operator that like turns up the dial, 1% in using data, like they're going to be light years ahead of uh, all the curmudgeons that think word of mouth still drives business.
Yeah. I mean, so so I'm guessing from that statement, you don't think that word of mouth still drives business. So what
Well, I
does?
mean, no, I do think word of mouth drives business. Word of mouth just happens online now, right? A Yelp
Yeah.
review is word of mouth. An influencer is word of mouth. Facebook advertising is word of mouth. There's more word of mouth than there's ever been. However, now a restaurant can actually, or any business can actually stoke the fire and manage their word of mouth, right? And that to me is where we're headed. And if I was a restaurant operator in this moment that we're going through in this country and around the world, um, if I'm not so busy running a restaurant because nobody's eating in it, I'd be spending some time looking at what are the technologies or the changes that I can make on the top level of my business to embrace this change that consumers are looking for.
Yeah. Love that, Rev. So, okay, someone's listening right now. They've got 10 locations. They're the head of operations. What do they do? Like, what would you recommend, or head of marketing? Um, what would you say? Here's kind of your game plan.
Man, I wish we had a whiteboard. Um, if I was a set of restaurant executives, I would get out a huge whiteboard with a piece of paper, and I'd make three columns. Right? Would do um, I would do awareness, acquisition, and retention. I would write all the things that I'm doing in those three columns to drive each stage of that funnel. How am I getting people to know about my restaurant? How am I getting them to come in my restaurant? And how am I getting them to return to my restaurant? Okay, restaurants spend a ton of time thinking about operations. How do I manage employees and inventory? And how do I do payroll and all these other things? And man, that stuff's super important. And the reason I don't own a restaurant anymore, because I was super bad at those. Terrible, right? Terrible, terrible, terrible. However, I was really good at marketing. And I think that restaurants put marketing last. But if you don't have a butt in a seat, what is the point of managing inventory? What is the point of managing staff? And so if I was an executive right now, I would take those three columns: awareness, acquisition, and retention. And I would write down everything that our business is doing in those three columns to drive revenue. And when I started to figure out what moved them through, I would reverse engineer it. So I would take the retention side of the column and be like, how do I know that I get a customer to return? How do I, are you doing email? Do you have coupons? Is there, online, what online to offline promotions are you doing? Like, I would do that. Do I need more CRM? Do I need more email? Do I need more? And then I would start to back that into acquisition, and I would start to back that into awareness. So ultimately, if I'm using, let's say, a loyalty program, some sort of CRM that says, hey Zach, thanks for coming in and buying tacos last week, do you want a free taco next week? And you do it, well, I need more Zach, right? So I'm going to reverse engineer how I get you to that point. So do my acquisition efforts then need to be about loyalty? Maybe not. Do they need to be about just getting you to give me your email address? Oh, that's a pretty good acquisition point. Cool. So if we see more Zach happening, then my awareness stage needs to be, how do I get Zach to think about giving me his email address, right? Not just, we have pizza. Great.
Yep.
Everybody has pizza. And I would tell restaurant operators, I'm going to sum that up in one sentence. I would think about how they gain awareness, acquire, and retain customers in a why you, why now, why us marketing funnel fashion.
Love that. Rev, dude, I sincerely appreciate you hopping on, sharing some of your insights here. Super fascinating. Where can people learn more about you?
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm here to help restaurateurs be better at gaining awareness, acquiring customers, and retaining them. So the easiest way to find me is I have the same screen name on every single platform. It's Rev Ciancio, RevCiancio. Most people are like, I can't remember how to spell that. Just Google expert burger taster and you'll find me. And if that still doesn't work, go look at my other Instagram account. It's got 300,000 followers and it's just pictures of French fries. It's fun with fries. You can find me any of those ways.
Awesome. Rev, today's ovation goes to you, man. Thanks
you.
for keeping us informed, keeping us in the loop. And everyone, look up Rev.